The backpack bulged. Maps, compass, boots, essentials for adventure. Mark, young, restless, craved the unknown. He yearned to shed the mundane, to feel truly alive. His destination, the Himalayas. A trek through towering peaks, a test of spirit. He felt the pull of the mountains, the allure of the wild. Excitement crackled in the air. Mark boarded the plane, anticipation thrumming in his veins. He envisioned himself conquering treacherous trails, the wind whipping through his hair. He pictured breathtaking vistas, snow-capped peaks piercing the sky. This was his escape, his chance to rewrite his story. He carried with him the dreams of youth, the longing for something more. The air grew thin, the path treacherous. Each step was a calculated risk, with the narrow trail offering little room for error. The steep drop-offs on either side were a constant reminder of the peril that lay beneath. Mark's heart raced, not just from the exertion, but from the sheer danger of the journey. Mark pressed on, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. The cold bit at his exposed skin, each inhale a sharp reminder of the harsh environment. His fingers, numb from the cold, gripped his walking stick tightly. The snow crunched under his boots, a solitary sound in the vast, silent wilderness. He felt a tremor of unease. Every shadow seemed to move, every gust of wind carried whispers of unseen dangers. His eyes darted around, scanning the landscape for any signs of movement. The isolation was palpable, pressing down on him like a physical weight. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The sky, once a vibrant blue, now churned with ominous gray clouds. The transformation was swift, almost as if the heavens themselves were warning him of the impending storm. The once clear horizon was now obscured by the thickening clouds, casting a shadow over the landscape. The temperature dropped further, and the first flakes of snow began to fall. The wind howled, a mournful cry echoing through the valleys. It whipped through the trees, bending them to its will, and sent shivers down Mark's spine. The force of the wind made it difficult to keep his balance, each gust threatening to knock him off the narrow path. The sound was relentless, a constant reminder of nature's fury. He checked his map, his heart pounding against his ribs. The lines and symbols seemed to blur together in his anxiety. He traced his route with a trembling finger, trying to reassure himself that he was on the right path. But doubt gnawed at him. The storm was closing in, and he was still far from his destination. He was far from any known settlement. The vast, empty wilderness stretched out before him, a stark reminder of his isolation. The distant mountains loomed like silent sentinels, offering no comfort. He was alone, with only his determination and wits to guide him. The storm gathered strength, and Mark knew he had to find shelter soon, or risk being caught in its fury. The storm hit with the force of 1,000 demons. Snow lashed down, blinding and relentless. The wind roared, a deafening symphony of chaos. Mark struggled to stay upright, his body buffeted by the elements. He sought shelter behind a rocky outcrop, his small tent no match for the fury of the storm. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through him. Section 5. Alone in the Wilderness. Days turned into a blur of white. The storm raged on, an unrelenting assault on his senses. Supplies dwindled, hunger gnawed at his belly. He was alone, cut off from the world. Doubt crept in, an insidious whisper in the back of his mind. He thought of his family, his friends. Would he ever see them again? Section 6. The Will to Survive. A spark ignited within him. He would not surrender. He rationed his remaining food, his movements slow and deliberate. He melted snow for water, his hands numb with cold. He clung to hope, a fragile flame in the face of despair. He told himself stories, sang songs to keep the darkness at bay. He would survive. Section 7. Encounters in the Wild. The storm abated. The once howling winds and relentless snow had finally ceased, leaving behind a serene, almost eerie silence. The forest, now blanketed in a thick layer of snow, looked like a scene from a winter fairy tale, but the tranquility was deceptive. Nature, in all its beauty, also harbored dangers that lurked just beneath the surface. Silence descended, heavy and profound. The kind of silence that makes you acutely aware of your own heartbeat, your own breath. It was as if the entire world had paused, holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The snow-covered landscape stretched out endlessly, a vast expanse of white that seemed to swallow all sound. He emerged from his shelter blinking in the weak sunlight. The storm had kept him confined for hours, maybe even days. It was hard to tell. Time seemed to lose all meaning in the wilderness. His eyes, adjusting to the sudden brightness, scanned the horizon. The world outside was transformed, a pristine, untouched canvas of snow and ice. His body ached, his stomach growled. The cold had seeped into his bones, making every movement a painful effort. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in what felt like an eternity. The meager rations he had left were barely enough to sustain him. Hunger gnawed at him, a constant reminder of his vulnerability in this harsh environment. He saw movement in the distance. At first it was just a flicker, a shadow against the white backdrop. But then it became clearer, more defined. Something was out there, moving with purpose. His heart quickened, a mix of fear and curiosity. In the wilderness, any movement could mean danger or salvation. A pack of wolves, their eyes gleaming with primal hunger. They were magnificent creatures, their fur blending seamlessly with the snow. But their beauty was overshadowed by the threat they posed. Wolves in their natural habitat were apex predators, and he was an intruder in their domain. Their eyes locked onto him, assessing, calculating. He stood his ground, his heart pounding. Running was not an option, it would only trigger their predatory instincts. He had to appear strong, unafraid, even though every fiber of his being screamed at him to flee. The wilderness demanded respect, and he had to show it, even in the face of such imminent danger. He raised his ice axe, a meager defense against the predators. It was a tool, not a weapon, but it was all he had. The cold metal felt reassuring in his grip, a small comfort in an otherwise dire situation. He knew it wouldn't be enough to fend off a determined pack, but it was a symbol of his will to survive. They circled, their breath frosting the air. Each exhale was a visible puff of vapor, a reminder of the freezing temperatures. The wolves moved with a predatory grace, their eyes never leaving him. It was a standoff, a test of wills. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and palpable. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they melted away into the trees. It was as if some unspoken signal had been given, and the pack retreated, disappearing into the forest shadows. He stood there breathless, trying to process what had just happened. The danger had passed, but the memory of those gleaming eyes would stay with him forever. The wilderness had tested him, and for now, he had survived. Section 8, Rescue and Recovery. He stumbled through the snow, his legs heavy and uncoordinated. He saw a flicker in the distance, a fire. Hope surged through him, a tidal wave of emotion. He cried out, his voice hoarse and weak. He had been found. A group of local shepherds, their faces etched with concern, helped him to his feet. He was safe. Section 9. The Indomitable Spirit. Mark's ordeal left him forever changed. The journey he embarked upon was not just a physical one, but a deeply emotional and spiritual quest. Each step he took was laden with the weight of his past, the memories of his struggles, and the hope for a brighter future. The wilderness, with its vast expanse and untamed beauty, became a mirror reflecting his innermost fears and desires. As he sat by the campfire, the flickering flames seemed to dance to the rhythm of his heartbeat, each spark a reminder of the life he had fought so hard to preserve. He had stared death in the face and emerged, battered but not broken. The forest, with its dense foliage and treacherous paths, tested his limits. Every branch that scratched his skin, every rock that bruised his feet, was a testament to his resilience. There were moments when the weight of exhaustion threatened to pull him down, but he pressed on, driven by an indomitable spirit. The torn clothes and the scars on his body were not just signs of his struggle, but badges of honor, symbols of his unwavering determination. He learned the true meaning of resilience, the power of the human spirit to endure. Each obstacle he faced, whether it was a steep hill or a raging river, was a challenge that he met head-on. With every climb, he discovered a new facet of his strength, a deeper layer of his resolve. The journey was not just about reaching the summit, but about the lessons learned along the way. It was about understanding that true strength lies not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to face it. He carried with him the scars of his experience, a reminder of his own mortality. Each scar told a story, a chapter of his journey. They were not just marks on his skin, but imprints on his soul. They reminded him of the battles he had fought, the pain he had endured, and the victories he had achieved. As he examined his wounds, he realized that they were not just signs of his suffering, but symbols of his survival. They were a testament to his ability to overcome, to rise above the challenges that life had thrown at him. But he also carried the knowledge that within him resided a strength he never knew he possessed. Standing tall on the mountain peak, he felt a sense of accomplishment that words could not describe. The horizon stretched out before him, a canvas of endless possibilities. He had not just conquered the mountain, but had discovered a new depth of his own potential. The journey had revealed to him the boundless reserves of strength and resilience that lay within, waiting to be tapped into. It was a revelation that would stay with him for the rest of his life. He had faced his worst nightmare and lived to tell the tale. The triumph was not just in surviving, but in thriving. The smile on his face was not just one of relief, but of victory. He had proven to himself that he was capable of more than he had ever imagined. The journey had transformed him, turning his fears into strengths and his doubts into certainties. As he looked back on the path he had traveled, he knew that he was not the same person who had started the journey. He was stronger, wiser, and more resilient. He had discovered the true meaning of the indomitable spirit.